So here we are on week 14, and what we're going to do this week is we're going to start working in Unity, and this video is going to take you through kind of the very basics of Unity, and kind of introduce you to how to create a project, what the interface looks like, where things go, how to create objects, basic stuff, some lighting, things like that. So starting off, when you open up Unity for the first time, and you're going to be introduced with this window here to create your first project, and what you want to do is select a location for that project by just selecting a folder or creating a folder, and then give the project a name. I'm going to create this one. I'm just going to call it the basics. And what you want to do is select either a 2D or 3D package. We're going to use 3D for this. We don't need to add asset packages right now. We can do that after the project has been created. And let's go ahead and hit the Create Project button. So here we are. Our new project is opened up. And I'm going to explain a little bit about the interface. We're not going to go too deep because we'll learn a lot of it as we go, but just to understand what exactly it is you're looking at. The window in the front here, right in the middle, this is your scene view. You'll see some tabs along the top. The scene view is basically your work area where you'll go into the scene and you can move things around, adjust them, apply materials and textures and lighting and all that. The next tab is called the game view. This is what you will see when you actually test the game. It's going to either switch you over into this view while you're testing it, or you could drag that off and put it somewhere else. So I'll leave mine up there for now just so it's not confusing. We have the asset store, which is a connection to Unity's online bank of all kinds of assets, from environmental things to models to rigged animations and things like that. Many of them are free, and some of them are you have to pay for, but they're fairly inexpensive when you compare them to actually developing them, the time it takes to develop them yourself. So you can see all kinds of different things that that are available to you through the asset store. And then the last tab over here is the animator, and this is where you would go to set up how different objects that have animation applied to them are going to work. So for instance, you could say I want to play a specific part of the animation for a while until I click this button, and then play this animation for a while. So that's what the animator is for. We'll get into that later on, but you'll spend most of your time over here in the scene view. And in this scene view, the controls for moving around are exactly the same as they are in Maya. So if you hold Alt, if you're on a PC, hold Alt and use your 3 mouse buttons to left mouse button allows you to rotate and orbit. Middle mouse button is to pan, and the right mouse button zooms in and out. So there's no new learning curve there when it comes to moving around in Unity, which makes it really, really convenient. Also, let's see, if we go over to the left side, you'll see a tab called Hierarchy. This is the Hierarchy panel, and this gives you a list of everything you have in the scene. It's not everything you have in your project, it's just everything that you've placed in the scene over here. So it's similar to the outliner in Maya. And right now you can see we have an untitled scene, which if we'll save that here in just a second. But you'll see inside here we have a main camera, which is just came in by default. It's right there. And you have a directional light, which is right here. And all these things can be moved around. As we start loading things into the scene, you'll see them popping up over here in the list, which is another reason why it's important to get in the habit of naming everything that you create. Down below, you'll see a project window. On the left side, it shows the project and all of the subdirectories that you have within that, and then on the right side, this larger area here will show you all of the assets that you have inside those folders. So this is going to give you a view or a window into your project folder and all the things that you've applied to that. and then as you drag things from here into the scene, they'll show up here in the hierarchy. On the right side, we have the inspector, and this is your properties, basically your properties window. So anything you select over here, you'll find all of its property values over here, and you can make changes, you can add components, things like that. The buttons along the top here, we have basically the hand tool, move tool, rotate, scale, and kind of a subcomponent mode here, which is like a transform tool. They all work just like they did in Maya, and the shortcut keys are all the same as well. So W is to move. If I select, let's say, this light, W is to move, Q is to select, E is to rotate, and R is to scale. We wouldn't scale that though, but you also have two buttons here that give you pivot and global. So let's say that right now the scale tool on this sun is set to be a localized movement, so I can move it in that direction, rotate or scale it. If I go to local, you can change those things from global to local. So just like in Maya, where you can either have your move tool, your rotate tool going in the normal space axes, here you can change from global to local to have those axes change to whatever the object's orientation is. Alright, you'll see these playback buttons. The play button is when you want to play the actual game, test it out in the scene. When you hit play, it'll take you to the game window, and then you can play the game, test it, and then you'll hit the play button again to stop it, and then go back into the scene window to make changes. Along the top, the main menu, typical main menu here, we've got File, where you can find Open, New, Save, and things like this. First thing we'll do here is hit Save Scenes. We have a project set up, and it automatically creates a scene for you, which is the scene, and it's untitled. We haven't saved it yet. So if we go to File and Save Scenes, it'll take us into that folder that we created, the basics, or my folder is the basics, and creates, you have this assets folder, and now all it needs is a name. So I'm going to call it the basics scene, and it's got a save type of Unity, so we'll hit save. And now you'll see in the asset folder here, in the project window, you'll see there's our scene right there called the basics, and it says it up here as well in the hierarchy, the basics scene. Now we could have multiple scenes, and we could have the game go in and out of those different scenes as well. But for right now, we'll just focus on just one. We also have edit menu, which you can see. We'll go through these as we need to. Assets, game objects is where you'd go to create new things. Components. Components are pieces that you can add to different objects. So if you want to add an audio component, say you want to add an audio source to an object, then that object could have a some type of sound effect that's playing out of it as well. Different windows that you may need are located here. So that's really a quick basic overview of how to start a project and how, what the interface looks like. So over the next few videos, we're going to go through some basic things such as creating objects, working with cameras, working with lights, placing a player or an FP controller, and things like that.